Hello everyone, today we are going to add internationalization to our app. So we have here the basic example that Flutter generates for us when we create a new Flutter project, in this case the counter example, and when we press this button, it will show how many times that we have pushed this button. So the main goal of this video is change this string here right over the counter when we change the language from our device settings. For example, if I go to the setting of my device and look for language, in this case I have my device in Spanish, so I will look for idioma and I go to the system configuration and then languages. I have three languages here. The first one is Spanish, which is the main language that we have here in our device. In this case, all the string from our device is in Spanish. So if I change this, you can see that this string will change, and this is the same behavior that we need to add to our app. So when I change this to English, this should appear in English. Right now it is in English because I haven't configured anything from our main example, and this example is in English. But if I change this to Spanish, you will see that anything changed. Everything remained the same, so this is still in English. As I told you before, the main goal is to change this when we change the language from the device settings. In order to do that, the first thing that we need to do is to import the internationalization package. This internationalization package, you can find it from the pubdev. Here we have the last version. The last version is this one, so I will copy this and paste it in the book spec right after the Flutter SDK dependency. And let's save this file in order to run the Flutter book get command. Alternatively, you can run this command from the terminal. Okay, and now we have this dependency. The second thing that we need to do is to set up this dependency. For that, we will place here the Flutter intl key, and then we specify all the configuration that we need for the internationalization. The first thing is the enable. This enable we can place it to true, set it up to true in order to generate or auto-generate all the internationalization files that we need. The second thing is the class name. This class is the one that we need to use in order to import all the strings that we need in our app. This is optional because this package already create a class name or a default class name, but in case you need to specify a class name or a name that you think is more clear for you, you can place it here. So I will put, for example, intl strings for my class name. Then we can specify a main locale for the main language that we will use in our app. In this case, the en, for example, the English language, but you can set up here the es for Spanish language. I just will put the en for English. And then we can specify where our files related with the strings for every language we need to place, or we want to place. For example, these files are called ARB files because they have an extension ARB, and it's for that this key will be called ARB dir. And as I told you, here we will have all the files for every language when we will place all the strings. Then we have the output dir key, output dir. And what is this This is the directory when all the generated files that we will use in our app will be placed. For example, the class with this name intl strings that we need to import to access all the strings is generated inside this output dir or output folder. So let's say that this will be placed here in the LTN and then inside the generated folder. Okay, so if we save this file, we run the flutter put get, and all these folders will be generated here in the list folder, as you can see here now. For example, we have the generated folder here where will be placed all the auto-generated files, and we don't need to touch anything from here, but I will show you some things that maybe are interesting for you. And the files, the ARB file, where we will place all the strings that we need for our, will be placed here in this one. Okay, but notice that this has a en character in the last part of this name. What does it mean? This means that all the strings that we place here are related to the English language. So if we want the app support another languages, we need to add or to create another file like this, just with the two last characters with the related language. For example, for Spanish, we need to create an ARB file called intles. Okay, and we will do this one. So let's start for the very basic string here in the English file. So the first thing that we need to do here is to create our string. In the first place, we will create the string related with this one here from the app. You have pushed the button this many times, so we will create here an entry. In this case, it will be, for example, counter title, something like that. And then in the counter title, we will place this string exactly as it appears in our app. The button this many times. Okay. So if we save this should be auto-generated inside the generated folder. If we go to the intl folder, we have all the messages for the English language. So as you can see here, we already have this property, the counter title name that we set up here in the ARB file, and then we have the value that is, you have pushed the button this many times here. So this is the one that we will use in our app, but not from here. We will use it by importing this intl string class that is inside the LTN file, and from here we can access this property from message en. Okay, that is called with this name, the counter title. Okay, so let's see how this works in the real app. If I replace this string with the intl strings class, this one that we set up in the book spec, then we call the of context, and then from here we can access the property counter title. Well, I put counter title. Okay, let's just fix this title. Let's save again, and this file should be regenerated with the counter title. Let's give it some a minute. Okay, and now it have changed. So if we go to this page, we have the counter title here. Let's put the T here. And let's remove this const value because this is not const anymore. no content. Okay, if we refresh the app, it should appear this message. Okay, let's see and save this. And as you can see here, we have an error. The error says that we maybe forgot to add the intl string delegate into the localization delegates. Place it, no? Place this delegate into the localization delegate from our material app. So how can we fix this? So here we need to specify the delegates for our app. So in order to do that, we have the localization delegates, and we need to import the intl strings dot delegate. We can also we can put this as a const, and we can also add the supported logates. The supported logate are all the logates that our app will support. For example, English, Spanish, or whatever, French. So we put here intl strings and then call the delegate supported logates. Okay, and that's it. We can, for example, imagine that you want to show, for example, only English, even if you have another language added here, but you can then specify from the supported logates at least with the logates that you that your app will support. For example, in this case, is at least with the only with the English logate. But when we specify here the supported logates that our intl string class has, it will put here all the logates that we create here. I mean, if we have a file for the English language and we have another file for the Spanish language, we will have all these all these logates added with this one. The supported locate has all those languages that we specify here in the ARB files. Okay. In this case, if I save this and then run the app again, now it should work. Okay, let's see what is the error here. Let's say this again. Reload the app, and everything is just fine. Okay, we have exactly the same name that we place here in the internationalization English file. So if I change this, for example, let's put this column here and save. As you can see, there are no columns here. But if I say this and then refresh the app, it should appear the change. Okay, I don't know why I have to say this one in order to work. Okay, and now you can see the column at the end of this string. What other thing we can do with the ARB file and why they are very strong? Because if we go, for example, to this page and we have a lot of examples that we with all the things that we can do with this ARB file, we can, for example, add plurals, we can add sex, and I will show you an example because I think it's the best things that in order for you to understand how this works. For example, let's start with the basic example. If I put here, for example, in the antl enrb file, I place here a variable, which I can do, for example, counter. This is my variable. So when we save this, the message en file will be regenerated, and this will be now a function instead of a property. So if we go to the main, as you can see here, we have an error because this is a function, it's not anymore a string property, and we need to call a function here, and we have an object from here, the counter title. So if I put here for example, the counter property here, and refresh the app. Okay, let's save this, save everything, okay, and refresh the app. Okay, you can see that we have a variable here that we passed through the counter title function, which was created with the new functionality that we add here, just placing a variable here inside brackets. And if we, for example, press this button, it will change every time the widget is rebuilt. Okay, but at this point, as you can see here, if I change the language, the English language, for the Spanish one, well, this is in English, but if I change it to Spanish, it remains the same. Nothing happened. This is still appearing in English. So for add another language, for example, Spanish language, we need to create another ARB file. So let's see that we create here a new file, which is called exactly the same as the English one, just specifying here the ES for Spanish and then the ARB extension, and we have another ARB file. So we can copy this and place it here, and what we are going to do is to change the value. The value we keep this the key, because the way that our intl string class will access this property or this function in this case, and we will change this text. So we can put here has presionado el botón estas veces. Let's say this, and this will generate here a message ES file with all the generated language. Okay, as you can see here, we have the Spanish one, the Spanish version, and if we go to our app, let's go to our app and refresh. Let me see if everything is saved. Refresh the app. And let's see, we have an error here, no material localization file found. Okay, what is this? We need to specify a location. Okay, let's try again. Then we have the same error. Okay, we have the same error, but we have this error because we, in order to add more language, we need to specify material localization to our material app via the localization delegate. And in order to do that, we need to add another dependency to spec. For example, here we need to add the localization dependency. I will place okay, above this one because it's from the Flutter SDK, and it is called Flutter localizations. Okay, and here we specify the SDK Flutter, and that's it. Let's run this, the Flutter pull get. Okay, and then from the main we need to add this material localization I told you about. So here we have the material localization. Material, the thing is called global material localization. Global material localization delegate. And we can also add, for example, the global Cupertino localizations delegate for the Cupertino widgets. This will add also localization for day and time formatting, and that's it. We can save this and then refresh our app, and let's see if we have. Okay, since this is I don't know what happened here. Let's refresh it, and it should work now. Okay, as you can see here, we have this string in Spanish because we have set up our device in Spanish. But if I change this language and place the language in the first place, this should change automatically in the app, as you can see here. And everything is working fine now. Okay, let me show you another example from the ARB file just to see how strong is this. For example, for the plural example, well, let's look for the plural example here, and we copy paste the same. So let's copy this value. Okay, not this one from here. Okay, let's copy this value and place it in the English version. Okay, what we have here is the count variable, and then we say that this is for plural. Then with the count variable we can access is the same that the counter property that we placed here before. So we have a variable that we can use here, and this counter title will be a function. So the first thing in the plural example is that we have a 0 when count is 0, and you can place a message for this case. In this case, we can say that our counter is 0, and then we can specify a message for the one value. I mean, when the count variable is equal to 1, we can specify a message 2, and here we can say that the counter value is 1. And then for the other, that is when the count is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is not 0, is not 1, so we can specify here another message. For example, you have pushed the button this many times, and we use here this variable count just to say how many times we have pushed the button. Okay, let's save this and let's copy this example here and place it in the Spanish version. Of course, we will change the text. Here we say that this is our counter. Okay, nuestro contador es 0 in Spanish. Then el valor del contador es 1. And for the other case, we will say has presionado el botón estas veces. And let's say this file. Okay, everything should be auto-generated here in the English version. As you can see, now we have a similar string as the one that we placed in the ARB file, and for the Spanish one too. So if we go to our app, okay, let's go. We have exactly the same here because we will use the same variable for this. And if we save everything that is already saved and refresh the app, okay, let's see, maybe something that we miss here in this case. Let me see if I copy paste this correctly from the let's see. Yes, I think everything is okay. Sorry, I missed a bracket here in the end. Let's save this. Let's say the same in Spanish. Okay, and then let's refresh the app and see Okay, now it's okay. Our counter is 0. This is for the English version. Our counter is 0. If I press the button, it changes to the counter value is 1. And if I press the button for the rest of the number here, you have pushed the button this many times, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or whatever. And then if we change our language to Spanish, for example, we will have the Spanish version here. Ha presionado el botón estas veces, 7. And let's refresh the app just to see the rest of the strings from the Spanish version. We have the nuestro contador es 0 here. And then el valor del contador es 1. And then has presionado el botón estas veces 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And that's everything about what I want to show you. And the last thing I want to show you that is not about generating a new example here or whatever, because you can read this document or this page. I will place it here in the video description, but what I want to show you is one thing that I discovered not too much time ago. So and it's really helpful in this case, because as you can see here, when I save this file, the generated string are auto-generated automatically. But when you have an app that is more complex than this one, and you separate your internationalization strings or the internationalization set up in another package, and you have multiple packages in your app, maybe the saving this file, or maybe you have an error here in the strings or in the values that you specify here. You won't see any generated files in for example in this one, the message es file, because it fails. So in order to forcing the generation of the strings, you have this alternative that is importing or installing the intl util dependency. For that, you only need to, for example, here from the terminal, you can activate this dependency globally for all your apps. So in order to do that, you can, for example, run this command dart pub global activate intl utils 2.7.0 version, which is the last one from here. As you can see, you go to install and you will see the same, and then you will activate this for all your apps. And then I already have this version installed, it's activated, and in order to use it and forcing the generation of the files, you run this command dart pub global run intl utils generate. And with this one, you will generate all the string for every language, or forcing the generation for all the strings. For example, if you have an error in one of the files in the strings that you configure here, it will say that, for example, an entry from the English version mismatch an entry from the Spanish version, and so on. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It will be, I know it will be very helpful for you. I think so. So if you like the video and you enjoy it, just give me a like, and see you in the next one. So bye for now, and goodbye. That's it.